Yeah, so I said we're looking at the process of selection. So the first step, as I said, is the preliminary interview. So the objective of doing a preliminary initial preliminary, so the reason is to remove any misfits. Yeah, that's basically the objective of why preliminary interviews are conducted. So what we're saying is that the preliminary interview, the reason is to remove any unqualified applicants. Or I just use the technical word, I said misfit. Yeah, misfit meaning to say it's not matching. They are unqualified. There are times where sometimes people apply for jobs even though they are not meeting a specific criteria. Yeah. You find that maybe in terms of qualification they are meeting, but in terms of maybe experience, number of years, they are not what? They are not qualifying yet. Yes. So if the organization is really sticking to that they want someone for 5 years experience, they will basically reject that application. Okay? So the reason is because we don't want to involve ourselves for an overflow interview. We already know that he's not what? He's not qualified. Yeah? But also there are times where there is a vacancy, they're saying they want a degree. Because we will need to go. When you're looking at the responsibilities, you feel you can undertake them. And you feel like, no, let me take a chance, let me apply. But if the organization would still stick to that, they will eliminate all those people because to them, those people are what? Unqualified. Because they are not meeting the criteria. So the essence of doing a preliminary interview is to eliminate any unqualified applications. Okay? Number 2 is about the selection test. So depending with the position, depending on the nature of the job, but also depending with the organization, you'll find that some people are required to do a test. Yeah, aptitude test. Yeah, maybe practical. Yeah, if it's a typist, then they want to see how many words are you going to type per minute, how fast are you going to finish a document, something like that. Yeah. How do you use Word? How do you use Excel? So such kind of things. Right? If it's about data entry, we'll give you maybe an Excel sheet. Can you enter this data? Can you export it into a graph? Can you do that? How long is it going to take you to do that? Yeah? So it's where they see your level of skills. Right? Yes. So some organizations do that, but also, like I said, sometimes you might just need a position. Yeah. For example, if you're an accountant, maybe they will want to see, can you do a balance sheet? Can you draft up a profit and loss? Can you write up a cash flow statement? So they will want to test in terms of your abilities. Yeah, but some of it can also be in terms of also the skill, but also time. Yeah, how fast can you do it? Yeah. Then number 3 is the employment interview, which you already know about. Yeah, so this can be a one-on-one interview, can be a panel interview, or it can be a sequential interview. Yeah, sequential meaning that there's a sequence. Yeah, you start with phase 1, interview in sequence. Yes. One-on-one can also be an interview that you're only having with one person. Right? Yeah, a panel, that's the one that you're familiar with. Yeah, the people come 4 or 5, and then you're standing there and they interrogate you with the question. So you're familiar with that face-to-face interview. So it's more or less like having an in-depth conversation. Yeah, you're just having a conversation to understand more about the applicant. Right? And again, some interviews can be structured, some of them can also be unstructured. Structured, it means they're following a specific flow of questions, a specific format of question. While unstructured, it might be something that you are just throwing in questions based on how the conversation is going. Yes. Pardon? Yes, in a plan. Right. Yes. So many here is to determine the next question will be like. Okay, follow-up question come back. Yeah. But many structured, everybody, how old are you? The next question really, where is your village? But many women are young, how old are you? Are you married? Yeah, so pardon? This was it was in so maneno basic interview my personal questions kwambe sibwe nofuna umbe job related zanga zabo nyumba yonke sumane ngomazi kuza kwambili ya so the basics are usually enough. I mean, if you give us a chance to tell us more about yourself, so what is basic information. If I see this of my card, it's illegal. Yeah, so that's not very much.
So, but tell us more about yourself. Can you just explain yourself? Can you explain more about yourself? Can you tell us more about yourself? Can you just explain yourself?
Yes, I am a phone in a very short form. Usually, for Salah, tell me about yourself. I'm a phone as well. Like men of green sheet or whatever. I was born in which, unless there's something very significant that you want to sell yourself, right? Because for Solomon, the position here, what is it more about? How do you feel yourself to be a fit for the job? Okay? What qualities do you possess? So maybe how did you gain those qualities? You can now explain that for them of which skill you want to marry. You know, I can contribute positively to this particular position. So there are certain things that you can't just be talking about that you can't add any value to the organization. So it has to be carefully said, because it's like you're trying also to advertise it. Besides you have as a CV, you're still further advertising yourself. Yeah. So what is in the Zama service? Was a very specific they want to know what it was the process like and how did you land yourself there. Then also is also to know even in terms of your career aspirations, right? More about yourself. What do you aspire to do? What do you aspire to become? Yeah. So employment interview is number 3. Number 4 is reference and background check. Checks. So that's why it is important that I mean, my referee, CV, a current program once but you also say the truth. Yeah. So, for example, I don't remember you don't put such kind of people. Yeah, because maybe they can say negative things about you and you can lose your job. So it should be someone who knows you better, has been your supervisor, but also you have good relations, yeah, with that particular person. Because you'll find that some organizations will make a phone call, send an email to basically check with your referees more about yourself, right? Yeah, so it's a background investigation. But also sometimes it's also to make sure that they are employing somebody who does not have any criminal record. Right? Yeah. So some people may not say it, but for money, but you have any criminal record. But for some I'm again, you something. Yeah. So it is also important for organizations to conduct reference and background check just to see the type of candidate that they would wish to hire. Number 5 is the selection decision. Selection decision. In other books, it's known as management appraisal. So who does the final selection? It's usually your immediate supervisor. Okay? Supervisor. He has the mandate to make the final decision. So HR panel for final decision follow up so that's why I find the shortcuts, the corrupt practices are everywhere. Process because of end up going before it for selection. Yeah. So yeah, selection decision is basically done by your line managers, also known as your supervisors. And this is after the interview, test, reference check, and that's when a selection decision can be made. Number 6 is physical examination. So you want to make sure that again the candidate that you are taking is fit, physically fit, yeah? Free from sickness, illnesses, but also contagious diseases. Yeah. Most importantly, now these days also with the COVID, with the cholera, they want to make sure are you vaccinated? Because the only way to show that you are physically fit is that you are fully vaccinated. Yeah. So some organizations demand certificate, the proof that you have been vaccinated. So that's why you have those cards showing the date that you were vaccinated. So these are issues to do with the physical examination. So the same also with the police and the army. That's why they go for that training, is to also assess in terms of what? Physical abilities. Yeah, so we're talking about physical examination. Number 7. Sure. Is this one there? And the next step is also looking at in terms of the job offer. So as an organization, you make an offer. As an employee, you either accept or you what? You decline. So you don't just start with signing a contract. They give you an offer letter. Yeah. These are your benefits, etc., etc. This will be your salary. These are the conditions and whatnot. Are you agreeing? If you agree, send it back. Yeah, you sign and send it back. After that, that's when now you formally now write the contract. Okay? So there's offer, And then there's a contract. There's a contract of employment. So you have a written contractual terms of employment, which is a formal contract which you're going to sign. But it starts first of all with an offer. So sometimes people can also make counter offers. Sometimes people can negotiate an offer. Okay, this is what's among that. So I sign a contract, offer, acceptance. So before you accept, maybe you also counter offering. Okay. So even now in Nigeria, because we not sorry look company salary ndio sana wewe ngani ndani ndio bana mbona ngomnyezera because mina ndikaletea ndio bila kwenda so nakufunisisa unazana adjusted. Yeah, so you are at a better chance of negotiating a better offer. Wena depending on when I know kusia kwa mtawa yeah neto currently kulandira yes nikajoge na mundu wa sai fund kulandira ndio mwana service so you can't be let's see it out when you're running the way out amasia ni kuzuri kusia well we know again this is idea something better. Yeah. So what are the good selection practices? Essentials of a good selection practice. Number one is to have a detailed job description and job specification.
Description and specification.
Detailed job description and job specification. So why? Because when you're selecting, you want to know whether the person will have a capacity to undertake the duties that have been highlighted in the job description. But at the same time, this detailed job description and specification should be approved by the supervisor because so he knows what it means in that position, what is required for that person to be doing in that position. Okay? So we need to have a detailed job description and job specification. Number two is to also have trained selectors. Train the selectors. Train the selectors. Train the selectors. So these people that are involved in the actual selection, they have to be told what is it exactly that you're looking for. Yeah. Okay, number three, sorry. Number three is also validate the procedure. So if anything, as we said, that there is a process in the selection. So each process needs to be again done properly, and we don't have to skip a specific stage, and this has to be basically validated. Okay. Let's finish off by the last part by looking at the barriers of effective selection. Barriers to effective selection. What are some of the barriers that we are likely to face in terms of issues of selection. One is perception. So because we are using perception, we are using judgment. Sometimes that judgment can be right or can be what? Wrong, eh? So it also becomes a barrier to effective selection. Okay? Not only that, that's why even from a panel, you're not supposed to sit on the panel. Yeah, because you can be biased. Yeah? You have your own perception on how you look at that person. And that may become now also as a barrier towards you looking at things objectively. Okay? Number two is also about fairness. So we have to make sure that we are fair. There is no discrimination against a specific religion, race, or gender. Eh? Yeah. So if we are becoming discriminatory, that also becomes a barrier to effective selection. Number three is also again in terms of validity. Okay. I'll mention how valid, how important. Okay, I'll explain what we mean by validity. So validity, we're looking at that sometimes, okay, for example, to bank testing and the question is, what is the association between that test and assessing certain capabilities? Because if there's no connection, then there's no need for the test here. In other words, how important is it? Is it something that is valid? Is it something that someone is required to do? Okay, for example, one children doing a baby. So one children a week later, nothing we are wearing a person. Is this HIV? Then I got confused. Where is this HIV? The another that we know what's the name of the as an end of somebody. As a test. Yeah? So I couldn't see how important it was until me around was made. You know, those kind of things. People sometimes some people are evil minded. Yeah, so those things happen. So what we are trying to say is, by my testing, already they are not valid for you to do. Okay. For example, maybe you are. What example would I give? Maybe let's say you are a lecturer. They are interview you, test you, okay, to go on how fast you're typing. But I mean, typing and teaching in class, which one is more important is the what? So in other words, this test is something which is not what? Valid. Yeah? It's not that all that important because it doesn't necessarily connect with the ability of being able to lecture. Okay? Yeah. So that's what we are basically looking at in terms of validity. So in other words, we might be wasting our time testing these things. I mean, it's not all that what important. Yeah? Number 4 is reliability, reliable. On reliability, we are looking at again the same test and looking at it in terms of how reliable is it. So reliability is looking at that, okay, you might find that someone has scored well in terms of the test. And our assumption is that for all kinds of minds, the Rinchido has a period. Is that the truth? Sometimes they can score well at the test and practically to go and do it, fail to what? To perform, right? Yes. So in other words, again, sometimes the tests that we are doing are not all that reliable. Maybe zinakaa mbali yake, zinaenda mbali yake. It's just the same way even at all kinds of distinction. It doesn't necessarily mean your distinction. I love how I perform. Don't work really this right? In most cases, you find luminescence, so it's the opposite. Yeah, with your distinction, there's a move what really, I mean, was sad as or practical. Right? Yeah, so sometimes some tests are not all that reliable to predict that you're going to perform. Yeah. So sometimes it's difficult to predict job performance with precision, especially when you are using modern test. So that's why maybe again the test should be something that is looking at wide issues. Right? If it's one-sided, then you might find somebody scoring better because maybe that area is good, but the other areas is not one. It's not good. Yeah. Another barrier is pressure. Now, these pressures can come through politicians, relatives, friends, peers. So they would recruit assistant. Mwanangu alembera umene mwamaliza ngale mainterview mumutenga offer mampasa wabasanza pressure. And by doing that, you are creating a barrier to effective selection. Instead of them doing a good job in selecting the best candidate, but because you're giving them pressure, people will resort into selecting someone because they are under what? They are under pressure. This is very also common again in politics as well, especially with ruling parties. You find that maybe they want to favor someone because of a specific political affiliation.